Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. So this is another episode in helping you divest from the war machine, from weapons, war, and divert the money to the life-giving needs of our community and the well-being that we need. We've seen what's essential, and weapons do not fall on that list. So I'm really excited to introduce you today to the amazing Ben Cohen, who's the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. But more than that, Ben, as long as I've known him, has just been an amazing activist. He does not go in a room that he does not activate the room and just get everybody off their butt and engaged and doing the right thing and transferring their power to shift the world we live in. So, there's a couple of things Ben has done. I remember some Oreos in Congress. We were together at the Shadow Conventions 20 years ago. We're to both conventions. He did his skit to get money out of weapons and war. And he's also been working to get money out of politics with his Stampede. So Ben, welcome to CODEPINK and Divest from the Weapons.
Pleasure to be here with you, Jodie. I'm just walking in your footsteps. I'm just trying to follow your lead.
I know better. So, Ben, are you divested from weapons personally and in your foundation?
If you've never invested in them, you can't be divested from them, huh? Yeah. So yeah, no weapons in my portfolio.
Awesome, thank you. So no weapons in your portfolio. That's a choice you made because I'm sure some investors wanted that to be on your list. When you made that choice, could you talk about that? So people, as they're making the choice, oh my God, I'm not going to make a good return on investment, or it doesn't matter, it's all capitalism. What are some of the considerations that you had when you made that choice?
You got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to put your money where your values are. The mainstream investment advisors saying that, oh, well, you can't make any money if you don't invest in, defense contractors or the pharmaceutical industry or Wall Street or whoever else is screwing us is just a bunch of bullshit. There's been a bunch of studies that have shown that socially screened investments are making more money than non-socially screened ones. It's just like in the early days of Ben and Jerry's. The accountants and the lawyers were all telling us, oh, you're going to go out of business. It's not possible for a business to support the community and make a profit at the same time. And, it's just the usual old self-serving crap from people who only care about money. And we don't have to follow, the norm. I mean, if we do follow the norm, we're going down a big hole really quick.
So that's fantastic that you walk your talk. But let's look at your talk, because that's pretty potent, your talk. I've been around for 30 years that you have been working to get the Pentagon budget to shrink. And instead, we've watched that Pentagon budget grow. And you just don't stop, and you're super smart about it. So let's talk about the Pentagon budget. I mean, one thing that I just want to say is when people pay 65% of their taxes to the war machine, half of that goes to weapons companies. And when weapons companies return on investment, that means basically your taxes have gone to make the rich richer, because that's just your money flowing through and out the other side to the rich. When that money should be spent on the very, the foundation of our lives, on the essential needs we have. we could have universal health care. Everyone could have education for what we pay to the Pentagon. So something in you knew that that was one of the most important issues. And so maybe we could dig a little deeper on what that was.
I was a fat, serious little kid who was picked on a lot in elementary school. But one of the visions I had, what can I say, starting in elementary school, was that there are these two countries, the US and the Soviet Union. They're kind of facing each other. They both have this huge pile of really shiny, brand new weapons. And behind those piles on both sides were people who did not have their basic human needs met. And I've been really inspired by this quote from Einstein that you cannot simultaneously prevent and prepare for war. And I think it's really true. I mean, the conditions that are necessary for peace, the resources that are necessary for peace are, you can't have them if you've squandered them on building weapons designed to kill literally hundreds of millions of people. It's incredible to me. I've been recently starting to read John Hersey's book called Hiroshima. And this was the book, he was assigned, I guess he worked for some newspaper, but I think he ended up doing it as an independent project to go to Hiroshima after the bombing and report on what he saw. And the result was this book called Hiroshima. And you think about what happened there in Hiroshima in terms of the actual individual lives, and he goes through that. But it's in the perspective that 150,000 people died there immediately when that bomb exploded. And then, probably another 100,000 died eventually from the wounds they suffered. But in terms of the bomb that exploded over Hiroshima, it was an itsy bitsy little bomb compared to what's currently in our arsenal. I mean, the US arsenal, the nuclear arsenal, is currently 10,000 times the size of the bomb that blew up Hiroshima. It's absurd. It's totally absurd. And we spend, I don't know, what is it, $50 billion a year on maintaining and now developing a whole new series of nuclear weapons.
There's another $1 trillion that was set aside by Obama for another series of weapons.
Exactly.
But Ben, we just passed that anniversary at the beginning of this month, the bombing of Hiroshima. And yes, 250,000 people died, but what people don't know is that 1 million people have died in the testing of nuclear weapons since Hiroshima. Just in the testing of nuclear weapons. And
so
we have no more nuclear warheads than hospitals.
It's insane. And it's not going to stop until regular people stand up and say, I've had enough, and I'm definitely not investing in companies that are making that shit. It's ridiculous. What happens is it's a sense of myopia. There's a guy in some nuclear weapons laboratory who's told that his job is to create a more effective weapon that's going to kill more people. And, so it's just numbers to him, and he's just doing his calculations and not really thinking,
Yep, a lot of not really thinking going on around here. So you're not invested, but you are investing yourself in cutting the Pentagon budget. Can you tell us what that looks like?
Right now, it looks like a project called Drop the Mic 2020. Drop the Mic, that's MIC. You know how to spell drop the. And Drop the Mic 2020, Mike in this case stands for the military industrial complex. And it's a social media campaign on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And it's designed to take all these complex analyses, all these thick white papers that are written on different parts of the military industrial complex, all these great analyses about why it's so screwed up and how it's so screwed up, and break it down into little bite-sized chunks. I specialize in bite-sized chunks, little bite-sized chunks that work on social media. So if you go to Drop the Mic 2020, you'll see them, and hopefully you'll become part of our distribution team. We need people to get these little tidbits that we're sending out and forward them on, and begin to have a much larger audience of people that go beyond the converted, beyond the people on this call, onto the fringes of people we know, people who might not now agree with us.
Oh, so that's good to get to know. So I love that they're chunky little bites. And yes, CODEPINK has loved sharing them. They're very smart. And so we encourage everyone to share them, because they really help you think differently about what the military industrial complex is and how many voices have been speaking out against it for a very, very long time. But here we are with the biggest budget we've ever had. So Ben, what do you think gets in the way of people engaging? So we're talking about it, it seems super obvious. What do you think gets in the way of more people not engaging to cut the fact that we had a vote just a few weeks ago, just to cut it by 10%, when we've been able to present to Congress $350 billion worth of cuts that are very doable. And this was just for 10%, only 70 billion. So what gets in the way when you're out talking? What are some of the things that get in the way that we could debunk together?
I think that for politicians, they're deathly afraid of being called weak on defense by their opponents when it's election time. They're deathly afraid of some TV ad that can be made saying, our people, our boys are dying in whatever war we're putting them in now, and it's because this guy voted against the Defense Department budget. So they're scared of that. They're also scared of this job situation. I mean, the reality is that over the past 40 or 50 years, the United States has deliberately deindustrialized. All of our jobs have been shipped to China. We do not manufacture anything in the United States virtually anymore, except weapons. The best paying manufacturing jobs you can get are making weapons. And I think there's a lot of people working those jobs who'd rather be making something that did not kill another mother's child. but that's the best job they can get. And you know, the Pentagon does its best to spread the jobs for any weapon system across every congressional district in the country. It's not the most efficient way to do things, but it creates a political constituency that wants to keep that weapon system going because that's what keeps their jobs going. And so there's a very organized group of people, these employees, that when their employers tell them, hey, there's a chance of them cutting this weapon system, you better get on the phone to your congressperson and tell them we got to keep it, they call up. And getting calls from your constituents is pretty powerful for a congressperson. I was talking to a congressperson the other day, and they were saying that phone calls is the most effective way of influencing Congress people. Everybody's very hip to collectivism and overloading fax machines. That's gone by. And so if you want to influence your congressperson, it's phone calls. But anyhow, they get a bunch of phone calls from people that don't want to cut these weapon systems. And I think so. That's politicians. Then you have the media. In terms of the media, there's reporters. I don't know. I guess they still have some reporters that are assigned to the Pentagon beat. And the deal on the Pentagon beat is that if you write articles that are considered to be anti-Pentagon, you don't get much information out of the Pentagon anymore. You're not really that welcome at Pentagon briefings and talking to Pentagon people. So, and of course, the easiest way for a reporter to report is, to just essentially rewrite the press release that came from the Pentagon. And that's what ends up happening. So you don't have much critique from the media. And then, for regular old people, I mean, people are struggling to pay the bills, keep a roof over their head, deal with the kids, all this kind of crap, and the car breaks down. And, where's the time to, focus on the Pentagon budget, which is, kind of far away. So does that answer your question as to why we haven't gotten it cut yet?
So what you're saying is we have a movement to build.
We do have a movement to build. And the reality is that if we can shift that money to paying for childcare, to paying for healthcare, to paying for education, to paying for decent housing for people, we'd have a lot more time to deal with this kind of stuff. I mean, and the reality is that we'd create a lot more jobs than we currently create by making weapons, and we would not be involved in putting these bitter pills into the cosmic soup that we're all slurping.
Thank you, Ben. So thank you for giving us the chunky morsels to be smarter and inspired so that we can find the ways together to work on this. And divesting is one of them. In every city, there's a foundation that is the city or the state foundation that is supposed to do good for your community, and they are invested in weapons. Your city is invested in weapons. Your state is invested in weapons. Your church, your university. And so and your member of Congress. So that 10% that we didn't get the cut in the Pentagon, there are Democratic members of Congress who take money from weapons companies that voted the very wrong way. So locally, there's a lot you can do. We hope you can join us. We hope you can pass around Ben's Drop the Mic 2020 morsels of peace and diplomacy and work for a more peaceful and just world. Ben, do you have any last thoughts?
Just to say that you have done amazing work in your life, Jodie, and CODEPINK and Medea and all the women that you've introduced me to through CODEPINK are incredible. And I just want to thank you so much for doing the work you're doing. We couldn't do it without you. And let's keep on doing it together.
Partners in peace.
I like that. That's my first virtual handshake I've done. Can we do virtual hug? I'm going over to the edge of mine. All right.
Thanks, Ben. Peace and love.
All right. Good talking to you, Jodie.
Bye. Bye-bye.